Tonight, our special transmission as Saudi Arabia says formation of an independent Palestinian state is a precondition for normalization with Israel. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 124th day since Israel started its incessant attacks on Palestinians. Israeli forces have started attacking Rafah city in Gaza, where 1.4 million displaced Palestinians are taking refuge. The attacks follow Prime Minister Netanyahu's orders after he rejected a truce proposal by Hamas. In the past 24 hours, Israeli airstrikes have devastated southern Rafah, killing 14 civilians, including 5 children. Israeli forces have targeted residential areas, resulting in the loss of 2 displaced families and the destruction of entire buildings. Rescue efforts continue as survivors are pulled from the rubble. Journalist Nafiz Abdul Jawad is amongst the casualties. His son has also been killed in the strikes. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed grave concern over the assault, fearing it will worsen the humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has delivered one of the harshest critiques to Tel Aviv to date. He has warned Israel that it does not have a license to dehumanize others. In northern Gaza, over 300,000 civilians face famine amidst Israeli blockade. The death toll continues to rise. At the time of writing, 27,708 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli attacks. Another 8,000 are presumed dead under the rubble. 67,147 Palestinians are injured. Israel's revised death toll from Hamas's attacks stands at 1,139. The U.S. military has confirmed the death of a high-ranking Kataib Hezbollah commander in Baghdad, Iraq. The strike came in retaliation for a drone attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. soldiers. It targeted Abu Bakr al-Sadi and Arkan al-Alawi. Video footage shows an SUV engulfed in flames after the strike. A former bodyguard to Kataib Hezbollah's founder had ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. The incident has occurred amidst negotiations on potential U.S. troop withdrawal from Iraq and complicates the U.S. efforts to ease tensions in the region. The Biden administration remains cautious of escalating tensions with Iran-backed militias. However, the strike marks a significant response amid rising attacks on U.S. forces in the region. Saudi Arabia has insisted on the formation of an independent Palestinian state as a precondition for normalization of ties with Israel. The kingdom says the state should be recognized on 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as capital. In a statement, Saudi Foreign Ministry says cessation of Israeli aggression and withdrawal from Gaza is also a precondition to develop diplomatic ties. The news follows U.S. remarks suggesting Saudi and Israeli openness to continue normalization talks. Saudi Arabia has also urged the UN Security Council to expedite a Palestinian state recognition for peace. The White House is intensifying its outreach to Arab, Palestinian, and Muslim Americans nationwide and within the government amid Israel's war on Palestine. Senior Biden administration aides will travel to Michigan to discuss key concerns, including civilian casualties in Gaza, with community leaders. Notable attendees include Steve Benjamin, Tom Perez, and Samantha Power. This meeting follows President Biden's recent visit to Detroit. The Biden administration has also provided humanitarian aid to Gaza and pushed for bipartisan immigration deals to aid Palestinians. Experts believe this engagement reflects ongoing efforts by the administration to address criticism and engage with affected communities. Biden has been under pressure to respond more aggressively to the civilian death toll in Gaza. Reports show Biden had quietly hosted a meeting in October with a handful of Muslim leaders. Canada's immigration minister is expressing frustration over the situation in Gaza. Ottawa initiated a program last month to reunite up to 1,000 individuals from the Palestinian territory with their extended family members in Canada. Despite Canada providing a list of pre-approved individuals to Israel and to Egypt who jointly control the border crossings out of Gaza, there have been significant obstacles. Minister Mark Miller had previously indicated flexibility on the program's capacity. He now says it is difficult to expand the program when crossings remain inaccessible. The minister revealed ongoing efforts to explore diplomatic solutions before further public statements. While individuals on the government's list await crossing, they must still undergo screening before boarding flights to Canada. Miller's office has declined to disclose details, such as when the list was provided or the number of names on it. Pro-Palestine protesters are calling for a free Palestinian state at the Freie University in Berlin, Germany. The protesters carried banners at the gathering today which read "Freedom for Palestine." They criticized efforts to suppress pro-Palestine demonstrations at the university. One of the protesters says pro-Palestine students at the university face pressure to keep silent. She says universities should be places of critical thought and discussion. The German government is a key ally of Israel. However, it is undergoing pressure due to civilian killings and the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. In a recent poll, 61% of Germans say Israel's military actions in Gaza are unjustified, as they have claimed too many civilian victims. The state of Uttarakhand in India has approved a uniform civil code. The code encompasses marriage, divorce, adoption, and inheritance for Hindus, Muslims, and other religious communities. Lawmakers in northern Uttarakhand have passed the legislation expected to be ratified by the state governor and the Indian president shortly. The legislation is spearheaded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party. Similar legislation is anticipated in other states governed by Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party. There are chances of federal level enactment if the party triumphs in the upcoming national elections. The legislation prohibits polygamy and establishes a uniform minimum marriage age for men and women, 21 and 18 respectively, across all religions. It also standardizes divorce procedures. Stringent measures mandate the registration of live-in relationships. Non-compliance can potentially result in imprisonment or fines. Under the legislation, children born from such unions will be considered legitimate offspring with full inheritance rights. Muslim and other minority group leaders oppose the legislation. They say it infringes upon their religious laws and customs. India, the most populous country in the world, boasts a population of more than 1.4 billion. The country is predominantly Hindu majority, and Hindus make up 80% of its population, with Muslims forming 14% of its population. Muslims accuse Modi's party of promoting Hindu-centric policies that marginalize them and impede their religious practices. Uttarakhand is the first Indian state to adopt legislation ensuring uniform civil rights for all its citizens, irrespective of religion. Critics say this has been a long-standing objective of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad. Assalamu alaikum.